Hey guys, welcome to the first of the 12 Days of Proko. We got a lot of fun stuff coming your way for the next 2 weeks. Every day we're gonna do something different. Painting demos, free access to premium content, discounts, giveaways, collabs with some amazing artists. So make sure to check out proko.com/12days every day so you don't miss out on anything. Today I'm gonna start it off by painting Santa with gouache paint. It's kind of like watercolor, but you can go in with thick, opaque paint if you want, and you can reactivate the paint with water after it dries. That's something you can't do with watercolor. So I'm gonna show you how I use the medium, and I'll take you through my process from quick value thumbnails to the finished painting. I'm gonna give this painting away to one of you guys. If you want a chance to win it, go to proko.com/12days, and under day 1, you'll find a link to a GoFundMe page. I'll also put a link in the description below. Basically, donate to the GoFundMe and all proceeds will go to the National Young Arts Foundation. It's a really good program for high school students. What they do is they find about 100 or so really talented artists in high school, and they fly them out to Miami for a week for an amazing artistic experience. And it goes beyond just this 1 week. Once you're an alumni, you're part of the group. They try to nurture these artists and try to help them out as they're transitioning to become professional artists. They connect the students to mentors who are well known in the field. Many of them even win money to fund their artwork. There's so much amazing things that happen from being part of this group. I was one of the winners like 14 years ago. I'll tell you a little more about my experience later on in this video. So even if you don't care about winning this painting, please go donate what you can. It's a really cool program. Anyway, Blaise was in town. He animated for Beauty and the Beast, Lion King, Aladdin, a bunch of others. He's an incredible artist. He has his own YouTube channel now. So he was in town and I thought he'd make a great Santa Claus. So now I will paint Blaise as Santa Claus.
Aaron, what if I started telling everyone that you animated Lion King?
Yeah, don't.
Don't.
He came by the Proko studio and I took some photos of him as reference. I think this one's the winner. In the one on the left, the shadow pattern runs down the middle of his face. But in the one on the right, it splits up the front plane and the side plane. Personally, I like that better. So gouache is a water-based medium, which means the surface I'm painting on will get wet. If I use thin paper, it will warp. Some other papers, like the silk screen paper I like to use for charcoal pencils, it breaks apart and leaves a bunch of boogers. I want to avoid both of those, so I'm using this crescent illustration board. It's nice and thick and it has a smooth surface. If you've seen any of my painting vlogs, you know that I almost always start with thumbnail sketches to figure out the value and shape composition. When I'm painting outdoors, I'm limited on time, so I usually just do one sketch to make sure the vision I have in my mind looks good as a small value comp. But in the studio, I have time for a few to explore my options. With this first one, I'm trying out a few ideas. I'm testing out a dark background to bring out the whites of the beard and the hat, and I'm trying a vignette at the bottom. So I wouldn't paint the red jacket under the beard. Instead, I'd let the white beard transition to the raw white of the paper. I'm using just 4 values: white, a halftone, a shadow, and the darkest accents. I'm putting those darkest accents around the edge of the face to bring attention there. All right, let's try another one, but this time let's test out a lighter background and have the dark accents within the face and hat. So I'm putting the same light value in the background, on the face, and parts of the beard. Again, saving the lightest whites for the rim of the hat and the beard. The darkest darks will be along the whole right side of the face and in the creases of the hat. And maybe a little bit of that dark in the background just on the left side to pop that face more. Just a little along the edge to keep the overall feel of the background light. I like that second one, but I'm gonna do another one just for kicks. Sometimes good things happen when you experiment. With this one, I'm gonna kill the vignette idea just because I think I should at least try it with the jacket. So again, I'll use 4 values: white for the beard and the rim of the hat, the darker mid value for the jacket and the red part of the hat, I like the idea of keeping the darkest darks within the figure, and I think I want to save them just for the deep crevices, the occlusion shadows. Then I'll put the lighter mid values on the beard, the face, and the background. Now looking at my 3 options, I think I'm gonna go with that third one. It seems like the simplest, most elegant solution, and I like the jacket in there. All right, let's set up for painting. I like mixing the paints on this metal tray. It's a good size, it's cheap, and easy to clean. I don't just squeeze out the paints right onto the tray though. Instead, I dip a paper towel in water, wring it out, and set that up at the top of the tray. This will keep the gouache paints wet for a little while longer. Otherwise, they dry out way faster than I can paint. I'll still need to spray the paints with some water occasionally, but the paper towel helps. So here's what I'm thinking for the color palette. Of course, I'll need white. Then I got the 3 primaries, primary yellow, primary red, and primary blue. On the other end is ivory black. And then I'll put out 3 convenience colors. Yellow ochre and burnt sienna will help me mix his flesh tones quicker, and alizarin crimson will help me mix the darks of the red clothing. Okay, I wasn't expecting the primary red to be so similar to the alizarin crimson. I'm gonna use this flame red instead. Much better. That's a very Santa color. Okay, I got all my stuff. Now I'm ready to do some color studies. It helps to have some kind of linear lay-in, but not too detailed. Just a big rectangle for the head and an S-curve shape in the beard. Looking for a way to make it asymmetrical. As you can tell, I'm changing a lot. I'm not painting Aaron. I'm using Aaron as a reference to paint Santa. So I'm not worried about getting his exact likeness. Definitely not in these color studies, but even when I do the final painting. In fact, I'll intentionally change things to make him look more like Santa. Obviously, a much larger beard, but also that hat is way too small for his head. I'm loosening it a little so it sits lower on his head and moving that poof ball more to the side. I'm gonna try a greenish background to complement the red hat and jacket. I don't want a bright green, just a greenish tint, so I'm adding some of that ochre to knock down the green a bit. Also adding transitions of subtle variations in the green. The red is gonna be by far the brightest color in the painting. I'm gonna be brave and start off with the red straight out of the tube. I can knock it back later if I choose to. The shadows in the white beard and rim of the hat will reflect a lot of the environment. The greens of the background and the red fabric. Greener on the top plane of the beard since that will reflect the background, and redder on the bottom plane since that reflects the red jacket. That green is a bit too warm, so I'm throwing in some cooler notes in there since I'm going for a warm light and a cool shadow. Rosy red cheeks and a red nose, some little dark accents for his eyes and glasses. I want to throw in some more bright colors so it's not just the red that's bright. I found that a good place to throw in bright accents is along the edges. So some bright warm yellows along the lights and cool blues along the shadow side. I'm gonna do another one to explore some more options. Looking back at this first one, I realized that I was way too occupied by the details. I shouldn't have even been thinking about features at all, just big color notes. The color comps are about experimenting with color combinations and not about getting a good painting. I don't care if it doesn't even look like a face. As long as the colors harmonize and have the feeling I'm going for. It's more of an emotional thing. So with the second one, I quickly threw in a linear lay-in, and I'm gonna ignore the details as I focus on tiles of color. This one will be pretty similar to the first, but I'll make a few changes. I'll make the background lighter so that it's more true to my thumbnail sketch, and I'll swap the warm and cool side. I'll make the shadows warm and the lights cool. As I mix these colors, I'm thinking of value and temperatures more than the exact colors. Getting temperature and value right are the main 2 things to harmonize your colors and to avoid muddy paintings. So I definitely like that second one better. I could go with either one, but I like how the second one looks like it's colder, as if he's at the North Pole. Remember, the point of these is to develop the emotional part of the painting. Which one is better at telling the story that you want to tell? I start the main painting by putting some painter's tape as a frame. After I'm done, I'll take it off and I'll have a nice sharp edge around the whole thing. Stick around to the end because taking that tape off has to be the most satisfying thing in the world. Seriously, it's really satisfying. Of course, with this one, I'm gonna get a lot more precise with the drawing. I like to have my drawing completely figured out before I put in any paint. Okay, let's get a nice clean palette with fresh wet paint. Get rid of this dirty water and get a clean cup. We are professionals here. If you're someone who is intimidated by a blank white canvas, starting with large color washes can really help. I try to think about what colors I want to show through between the gaps of my brush strokes. I'm a lot more concerned with the brushmanship now because these strokes could be the final strokes in this area, especially the outer parts where I'm not going to put much details. I want the strokes to be interesting enough that I don't have to paint any details. I'm a fan of getting the full value range established early on in the painting, so I put some of the brightest spots on the beard, and now I'm putting in some darks in the creases. This helps me evaluate everything in between. As I mentioned earlier, you can reactivate the paint with water after it dries. So you can go back in and soften the edges between the tiles. It's not easy to do. You have to be patient and careful as you massage the edges together. I usually don't blend the edges much or at all. I like the hard tile approach. When I paint with gouache, I think of it as an exercise to put down clean color tiles with interesting shapes. It's great training for oil painting because most people tend to overblend when they start painting in oil. Gouache forces you to commit to your brush strokes, to mix the right color and put it down the right way the first time without mushing it around to fix it. Also, to get the gradations, you have to mix a few intermediate tiles as steps from one color to the other. With oil, we can be lazy and just blend the two together to get the soft edge. But because gouache forces you to mix each tile, it's a great time to throw in some color variations or a more accurate color transition within the gradation. So that National Young Arts Foundation I was talking about, if you're in high school or if you know of a high school student who has some real skill in the arts, tell them to apply. And it's not just for visual artists. There's categories in dance, music, theater, and a few others. When I was a senior in high school, I was one of the winners in the film category. I submitted my drawings and paintings into the fine art category and my game of pool animation into the film category. Going into the event in Miami, I really didn't know what to expect, but it ended up being one of the best things that happened for me in my career. I think a lot of the artists that go through it agree that they leave with an amazing amount of confidence in themselves and that they could really do this. Like this hobby, this thing that they love to do can become a career. I left excited to continue my journey, and I 100% knew that this is it. This is what I'm gonna do. And the organizers of the event get a lot of credit for making this thing really great. They do everything they can to set up their alumni for success. I ended up winning the Presidential Scholar Award and went to the White House. There were a bunch of other smaller events throughout the years where I got to show my work, such as there's a dinner in New York for all their biggest donors, and the man I was sitting next to ended up being a really good friend, a mentor, and a patron of my art. He's ordered a lot of commissions from me throughout the years. So obviously the experience was amazing for me, and I benefited a lot from it. So it's a really good program to get young artists started at the most sensitive time in their art journey, right as they're about to leave high school and make some difficult decisions. So if you want to support the National Young Arts Foundation, or you just want to win this painting, go to proko.com/12days, and you'll find a link in day 1 to the GoFundMe page where you can donate to them. And of course, I'll put a link in the description below. And everybody that donates will get a discount code to save 25% off in the Proko store. So if you're getting premium, thank you guys for watching. This was day 1 of the 12 Days of Proko. We got 11 more coming. So thank you guys. See you tomorrow.